Yes. Well, welcome everyone to this fourth and last session of the AMEA Toolbox Webinar Series. Today we're going to have CIAT and Ricoto presenting the results of their update of the link methodology, which is one of the tools in the AMEA Toolbox, but that was also co-founded by the Tool Improvement Facility, TIF, from AMEA. So just a quick recap of what we're doing. So the objective of these sessions are to introduce the latest developments of the AMEA Toolbox reapproved tools, which one of them is link methodology from CIAT. And we asked today CIAT and Ricoto to prepare a presentation that could stimulate deep discussions around the scalability and sustainability of programs that use the link methodology, but also broadly look into the BDS ecosystem's efficiency and how link methodology, what's the role of link methodology in an efficient and scalable, sustainable BDS ecosystem, right? A business development service for farm organizations and agro-SMEs. We've also asked them to look at the cost structures and talk to us about a bit about the cost effectiveness of the tools. So without further ado, I'll pass the mic to Brice, who is based in Hanoi and is food systems specialist for CIAT. Brice, feel free to share your screen.
Okay. Thank you, Felipe. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for the opportunity to present today. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see. Okay, good. So welcome to this webinar on the link methodology. So I'm Brice Even from the Alliance of Biodiversity and CIAT. I'm here with a couple of colleagues from the Alliance and from Ricoto as well. I'll try to keep my presentation relatively short, so we have enough time to answer questions and to discuss. Just a little bit of background on the Alliance and our values. Now we are really focused on the food system transition or food system transformation. And we believe that inclusive, innovative, and diversified agri-food markets can contribute to this food system transition. And link is one of the tools, one of the solutions that we propose to intervene in value chain and to increase inclusiveness within agri-food value chains. Link is a participatory toolkit that relies on 4 modules or 4 tools, and that provides a framework to do several things. First, the idea is to better understand the chain and the business models, how they work within the chains, and to assess the level of inclusiveness of these business models. So these are the tools 1, 2, and 3 that we can call them like a diagnosis, and then we use the result of these tools to design and implement interventions or pilots or prototypes or innovation. We can call them whatever we like, and to monitor the changes that have been brought by this the implementation of these pilots at the value chain level, at the business level, and at the farm level. So this is Link in a nutshell, and today I'm not going to explain in depth what is Link, because I hope participants know a bit, and we don't have so much time to do so, but I hope this overview is clear enough, and later if there is really some clarification needed, we can discuss it after the presentation. I want to mention a little bit of background that led to this AMEA TIF project. The first thing is that usually value chain development tools tend to focus on on one specific commercial relationship between one farmer organization or one group of farmers and one formal buyer, usually large institutional buyer. However, informal market and informal channels are still very important for accessing fresh food in low and middle income countries. So we need to be able to better address and tackle the issues within these informal channels that are usually at smaller scale. We also notice that many farmers organizations deal with multiple markets, multiple buyers, while sometimes the method will not be able to capture this multiple market aspect. We also notice through experience or through the recent developments around Link, and also especially in Southeast Asia, I would say it's probably less true in some other geographies, a relative limited interest from the private sector to lead such inclusiveness initiatives. Therefore, we also want to make the methodology easier to use for other type of actors that could lead the process, like development practitioners, NGOs, or even farmer organizations by themselves. So for this AMEA project, we engaged in a peer review process. Here is a quick representation of how the project was articulated. So first, we seek for feedback from Link users, and based on this feedback, we designed and we upgraded the existing tools and exercise and modules within the methodology. Then we tested this innovation with these upgrades with Ricolto and farmers organizations. And based on this testing phase, we reviewed against the upgrade and finalized. So here I would like to give a couple of examples of the feedback we received from Link users. I will not mention all of them, but a few that are important. First, there is the methodology does not really embed any tools that allow to assess the capacity of the farmer organization in terms of market access, in terms of service delivery, in terms of governance, and therefore also the level of development of the farmer organization and its ability to use Link. I'll come back on this later. There was limited guidance on how to adapt Link use to the different level of development of the farmer organizations. There was no tools allowing to quickly assess and compare different market channels or even different market opportunities available for the farmer organizations. There was little guidance on how to plan the implementation of Link in terms of staffing, in terms of budget, in terms of timeline and sequencing activities. So for first users of Link, it's often a challenge to know where to start and how to plan it. Link user also mentioned that it was difficult to use the inclusiveness assessment tool for different reasons, including sometimes language issues with too much technical words, and also some people complained that there were too many indicators, so it was too long and people would get lost. So that was also something important. Yeah, people also mentioned too many examples that would also tend to lose the reader and the users, and in somehow lack of consistency between these examples. So based on this feedback, we decided to focus our work on a couple of things, including adding a proper assessment module embedded in the method. We also decided to add another tool in order to be able to characterize, assess, and compare the different marketing channels and opportunities in order to ease the identification of buyers or private sector partners from a farmer organization perspective. We also worked and added templates to help for planning, for budget, for timeline, for staff allocation. And we also added some tools like the roadmaps and decision trees that should help the users to navigate across modules and to know what to do and when, and to help them also sequencing their activities and to make sure that they tick all the boxes before to move to the next step. We also simplified the inclusiveness assessment module. Now we propose two versions, and we streamlined the examples and a couple of other smaller adjustments. So here, in a nutshell, this shows where the main upgrades are. So you can see now we start with this farmer organization assessment. So this is a new module, module 0. We added a tool within module 1 for the market opportunity assessment. We simplified the inclusiveness assessment, and all over the method, the link methodology, now there is roadmaps and decision trees, and there is these templates that are also not really inside the methodology, but you can download them from the method. These are separate tools. So then we tested in Vietnam and in Honduras, and we got more feedback, and we proceeded to further adjustment based on this. Maybe I don't need really to spend too much time on this. I would like to go a bit more into detail on the new modules and tools. So let's start with the farmer organization assessment module. So here we came back to the AMEA Toolbox guide from 2021 that provides a nice typology or a nice way to characterize and classify, let's say, the different type of farmer organizations. So we try to rely on that in order to build a tool that will allow the users to position the target farmer organization within this typology. So the assessment tool is based on these 3 areas: the strategic business orientation of the FO, the business organizational structure and functionality, and the business management. And within each area, there is a couple of domains. And for each domain, we ask questions. I'm not going to read all. You can access to that later. And here is an example of how it looks in practice. So the overall assessment takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It's like it can be done through interviews with core members of the farmer organization. And for each domain, so the domain that were appearing here, there will be a couple of questions or statements that the member of the FO has to answer. So we provide some specific answer to guide them. And then we ask people to convert this into a score on a Likert scale from 0 to 5, and to provide more explanation that allow us to convert some type of qualitative information into quantitative information, and then to have a quick summary of the different scores for the key areas and domains, and then we can display the result on some sort of graph. So this is useful to identify the areas where the farmer organization are weak, and so it can be used. It can have 2 purposes. The first one, which is to determine whether or not the farmer organization is capable enough to be associated with Link, or to be a Link user, to be part of the process. And also it allows the user to identify which area of the FO should be strengthened. So in order to engage in capacity building, it provides some concrete ground to design these capacity building activities. That's it. Then we move to another tool, so the market opportunities assessment tool or market channel assessment tool that allows you to characterize market channels, to compare them, and then to prioritize, and in fine to select which buyer farmer organization want to work with in order to improve their business relationship with them. So here is again just an extract of the tool that shows so how it is organized. So first we defined a couple of characteristics. I think it's about 12 or 15 different characteristics to assess. And then we weight them according to their importance. So the weight should be discussed basically with the farmer organization, and you decide together which criteria are most important for you. I'll come back on this later. Then this is just an example of answers that we got. You got qualitative answers that again you can convert into quantitative information using a Likert scale. And at the end you get a weighted score when you multiply your score by the weight. So the score the total score will really depend on the weight that you attributed here, and also on the number of characteristics that you want to look at. It will be far higher than 20 once you put all the characteristics in. Here is an example of how it looks. This was an assessment that was done for 2 different buyers. So the weight is very important, that the weight is the same for the different buyers, otherwise you can't compare. So this is something to keep in mind. And also it's very important to do this weighting with the farmer organization, because from one farmer organization to the other, they won't have the same priorities. Some would value more access to services, for example, like here, they put it with the highest weight possible. And they disregard quality requirement, for example. So this is very important to do it in a participatory way. And then you end up with a graph like that, for example, that will allow you to compare different buyers. And again, something to keep in mind is that it's nice to have a quantitative result, but it's not because buyer B ranked higher than buyer A in this example that we should decide to work with buyer B. Then this is just to initiate the discussion, to allow farmers organization to have more concrete and formalized knowledge in order to make decisions. Here is how the overall roadmap look. So sorry, the design is not very nice because we have not finalized the design of the new version yet. But I still wanted to show you that because here what's interesting to see is that we have added this section that allows users to get started with link and to make sure that the essential dimension for success, which are capable farmer organization, willing buyers, and a favorable environment are there, and that it allows you to start the process. You can see that the module 0 is even actually here because we consider it as a preliminary phase of the effective link implementation. What we have added too is listing and mentioning the additional activities that needs to be done in parallel to implementing the modules that are explained in the method. That's something we notice, that sometimes people just will implement the tools of Link and organize participatory workshops, but then will not really follow up and do simple things actually, but that needs to be done in order to ensure a proper implementation of the tools. So that's why we made it clearer in this version. But I'll come back to this later. Here is an example of a decision tree. So now we have one decision tree like this for each module. And this tool is, this decision tree, sorry, is basically a series of questions that needs to be answered by either yes or no. And if it's a yes, you can move to the next step. If it's a no, then there is something to do, and some actions need to be done in order to move to the next step. So I don't know if we have, I guess we have a little bit of time to go through one as an example. So here is at the very beginning. So the first question is, do we have a project and funds to implement Link? It sounds very basic question, but actually you need to ask this to yourself in order to start. If not, of course, you need to identify resources. If yes, okay, you move to the next step, which is, do we have capable staff to facilitate and implement Link? If we don't, then we need to seriously consider assessing our staff capacity and train them accordingly. And we provide a couple of resources for that. But it's not 100% part of Link, but it's beside. Then once this is done, you need to check if your target farmer organization or your partner farmer organization is willing and capable to engage in Link. If not, then you need to engage in capacity building assessment, etc. So that's and when you complete the pathway, you end up in the Excel calculator that will allow you to consider your staffing, your budget, and I'll move to that soon. Yes, now actually. So here is, I'm sorry, you can't read, but it should be fine, even if you can't read. This is the new Excel tool for better planning of activities. So basically, you start with listing the staff that you want to involve in the process with their costs. And then you review this list of activities. So it has been pre-filled, but it's you can remove some activities, you can add some. And for each activities, you need to consider which staff will be involved and how many days. And once this is done, you move to the next tab of the tool, the budget. So basically the personnel cost will be automatically calculated, and then you need to design your to enter the cost of your activities in your specific country of intervention. So here just an example, and then at the end you get your overall budget. So again, it's not rocket science, it's basic project management tools, but the advantage of this is that you already have all the potential possible activities that can be necessary to implement Link, so it should ease the process. And then there is also a Gantt chart to facilitate or to ease the timing of the activities, but I did not include it here. Then we thought a bit about this question: how can the use of Link be scaled up, or how the use of Link be better done? Some of the biggest challenges that we noticed, or that were reported to us by Link users, is that using Link is quite time consuming. It does not necessitate huge resources, huge financial resources, but a lot of staff time. And also it requires proper facilitation skills and motivation and ability to work with and to mobilize often time-constrained value chain actors, either from the farmer organization side or from the private sector side. We also noticed that it was often tricky to properly document the process, especially when implementing by private sector or by NGOs. Who tend to focus on delivering outputs and activities, but less on monitoring result and measuring results. So a couple of advice what to do to properly use link. The first one is to anticipate and to think about link from the inception of the project, to identify your partners, to identify your funds, even to, if possible, to use core funds to perform the preliminary steps of link, the farmer assessment, the farmer organization assessment, the value chain mapping. That will really help you to better design your project and to know where you want to go, and also to be more successful in your project proposal writing activities. It's also very important to make sure you assess capacities of your staff, and because facilitation is not something that you randomly engage in, and to really strengthen staff, and turnover is also a big issue, but I did not mention it here. But something we notice that you can't expect to be successful when starting a process with someone and finishing it with someone else. It's usually synonym of failure. And I mentioned that before, but when engaging in this type of participatory process, organization needs to be aware that it requires a lot of time and flexibility. Link is very detailed, but it's really should be seen as a framework, not as a doctrine or something that you want to implement in a very strict way. We work with human beings, so we really need to be flexible, to adapt the tools to our context, and be pragmatic. And I'm sure there are other interesting ideas to discuss to achieve better use of these tools. And I think I'm done. I hope I was not too long.
No, thank you, Brice. I think you just made a very good use of your time. That leaves us with 30 minutes for questions and answers. And thank you for showing how you have also heeded the feedback you have received along the years of participating in the AMEA Toolbox group, and included it in the updates of the link. I think that was very interesting. I hope with that we'll manage to get even more AMEA members using the link methodology. So with that, I would like to ask if anyone has any questions to start our Q&A questions, or just reflections as well about the tool or the presentation. Feel free to unmute yourself or to write in the chat.
And perhaps if there is no burning question, my colleagues from CIAT or Rigolto want to add something or to initiate the discussion with one interesting topic.
Yeah, that would be very useful as well. If there's no burning question from the audience, I would also have a few questions. But I like the idea. Let's also hear from your colleagues if there is they have any questions or reflections about the presentation.
Good morning, good afternoon. Napoleon Molina from Ricolto. Brice, thank you very much for your very clear presentation. From our experience in this project, I just want to mention that yes, it was a very nice experience, because we as Ricolto apply very often Link in order to develop inclusive business model. However, as we have said before, as Brice has mentioned, we lack enough, knowledge about how farm organizations work, or how to measure or the impact in multi-market or multi-channel approach. We didn't much about informal market, because we were so focused on formal market that we let that part aside. And it's very, very important for farm organizations in tropical countries, because actually they have more, I would say, more consolidated relations with the informal market rather than with the formal market. And that with those changes that we have made now, we can now support better the farmer organizations on building inclusive commercial relationship with the informal market now. So yes, that's from our side.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Napoleon, for these reflections. Renee, you have a question?
Yes, question, or let's say a comment from a recall to as I was experiencing one link workshop in Peru. And what I picked up from that experience is that it's quite engaging. I saw people very interested in the matter that was discussed at that time, but also talking afterwards with my colleagues, that at one point you can see that the farmer organizations and its members are very much interested because of it's their access to markets, but that the response that you might expect from the other side, from the market operators, is quite difficult to engage within this process. And that made it, let's say, the farmer organizations are more informed, better informed, and know their own pathway towards a market. But how does the connection take place afterwards? That, I think, was a question that was lingering behind the whole process. Napoleon was with me, so he's one of the colleagues that I've discussed it with.
Yeah, I think if I may start, it's a very good point and a very good question, René. And I think there are different type of answer we can provide. So first, Link was when Link was designed, I think 10 years ago. It was also at the time where there were a couple of large multinational organizations that were really willing to try and engage in inclusive business, and that was really what fosters, I think, the development of such tools. And this was mostly, I'd say, in Latin America. The experience we had here in Asia for, I think, almost 10 years that I've been working, no, 8 years working with CIAT and promoting Link, is that we never really got a deep interest from large private partners to make use of Link. And we've tried with Mark as well, Mark Landy and other colleagues we talked with many large private large buyers, any chains, any type of chains, but there was not really a good buy-in. So the idea here is that can we engage with smaller actors that have less resources and obviously less staff, less time to engage in such process, but perhaps more motivation. And then, but if you do that, the entry point needs to be a bit different, because so first the entry point was, okay, you identify a private sector partner, you work with him, and then you will work with his supplying network. And again, we tried again actually very recently with some coffee and paper large firms in Vietnam. We included Link in the design of one research for development project, research action project, but they did not buy it. And now we ended up we will implement pilots, but we could not engage in the participatory process because there was basically no interest, no time, no resources to commit. So the idea is to change this entry point and to start, when you start with farmers organization as an entry point, and then you identify market with them, So that's where the market channel or the market opportunity assessment tools comes in to allow you to identify your different buyers, and then according to different criteria, you choose them. And one of these criteria for selecting them is also the level of openness, the level of the willingness of the buyer to experiment new things. And this is not really something you can control, I would say, but this is something you should try to identify from the beginning. So it's really hard to formalize it into a tool that will guarantee success, right? It's really more about interpersonal and human relationship that you build within the chain, the trust, the interest that you build with private partners. Also, one way to achieve that is probably to try to make the process as light as possible for the private partners. But then it's, yeah, I would say it's complex, and I don't have the magical recipe to make sure that private partners will be willing to engage. But maybe my other colleagues, Tuan and Napo, who have also a lot of experience, can add on that, and maybe they have other view or different views.
Philippe, can I just totally agree with what Chris has mentioned. We have the same experience, especially at the beginning. Working with the private sector is complex because they don't like to provide much information, and also their participation in meetings is difficult. What we have do is like to identify what are the needs they have, and in line with that, we try to offer something in the framework of Link so that we can help them to strengthen their supply chain. But this is a process, and we are still learning and how to engage them more in this type of inclusive business models. And another lesson learned is that our heart is with the producers organization. We work to professionalize producer organizations, but when you go to talk with the private sector, you don't victimize. I don't know if that is the right word in English, but you have to be very careful to not to put the farmers in a position as they are suffering always. Instead, you tell the private sector, you see, the farmers have needs, and we want to work with you to fill those needs. Because if you go like that to the private sector, they just say, what are you trying to tell me? I'm trying to tell me that I'm exploiting, the farm organization. These kind of things we have learned. Thank you.
Yes, perhaps I can add something to that, because we're talking about the traders or the buyers and the farm organizations, and I think what Napoleon said is very much to the point at how we live it with the farm organizations, being on their side mostly. But it's also, it relates neatly to an experience I had yesterday talking with somebody high up in the agricultural Ministry of Agriculture, who is listening and diagnosing the perceptions of market opportunities from the farmer organization side. And we're talking about the level of, could I say, naiveness of a lot of those farmer organizations of what the market entails and what the challenges are of getting into the market. They sometimes just want to leap towards actors and opportunities that are not still in the scope of reality for them. So there is a real need, also seen from the Ministry of Agriculture, to really inform them better and being well positioned to negotiate with the different opportunities that they might have. and not just think that the market will come to them.
Maybe I can add some point because I was very lucky to involve from beginning to test the tool with the farmer organization in Vietnam. And the first point I would like to say that the link is a very intensive or very comprehensive document. It means that it's not easy to apply. It means that not easy for us. It's like not like who have like less experience or less capacity to apply it in the realities. Because it includes the four different tools. So that's first point I would like to share. The second one is it really flexible. Yes, I agree with the point that conclude by the bridge that it should be very flexible in order to select which tool should be applied. For example, right now, Ricoto in Vietnam, we apply the tool number 0. It means and in order to quick assess the capacity of farmer organization. And then the tool number 3 about the inclusive business. And we already test those tools with around 10 farmer organization and also their clients, buyers. And yeah, their feedback that they are very happy and they are willing to apply so tool into reality. So that is and for this one, yes, not all the farmer organizations can apply. In Vietnam, we have a different type of farmer organization. The first one is farmer organization, the old-fashioned farmer organization. It means that it's kind of like it's just wait for subsidy from government. The second one is we call like a farmer business or business farmer organization. Those organizations really working on business, so they really need the knowledge regarding the business about and also the inclusive business. So for those farm organizations, so we can, it's very useful to apply the link and to help them to have a more inclusive or more like business linkage. And the third point is because we at the beginning one of the objective is we apply the tool for the informal sector of informal producers. For example, like in Vietnam, we call the wet market or informal market, with that work with the vendor or retailers. So I think for this one is more critical and very difficult to apply link methodology for them because their relationship or business relationship is very ad hoc. It's not formal or it's very difficult and very dynamic in order to apply the link methodologies or the link tool for So so that is the 3 points I would like to add with with you.
No, thank you very much everyone for these contributions and reflections. So, and does anyone have any further questions? Or even just a reflection, just to start a discussion like we just had. Thank you, Erica, for sharing the link to link methodology on the chat. We'll make sure we're gonna send this through the summary as well. So if no one has any, yes, Mark.
I'm on mute, but then again, my voice is pretty bad anyway. I've got a cold. It is winter. No, I mean, it really good to have quite a deep understanding of what's changed in Link, and also particularly to hear those reflections from Tuan about using it in Vietnam, so which I think will help people to understand what Link can now do and what it can't do. I think our challenge now is to enable these quite significant changes to be communicated across the whole membership, so we can see more agencies taking up this and using it in less structured markets, not completely unstructured, because I think that was the message from Tuan, that so I'd like to see that happen, and Brice and Napoleon and whoever else. I mean, if you're seeing opportunities where it can be used, or you're planning to use it, then I think keep in touch with us, because we would like to build the evidence base beyond 10 farmer organizations in Vietnam, in terms of how this new approach can work. Yeah, I mean, the big message I took away from Tuan's reflection there was they were very happy with it. It was complex, because there's quite a lot of mixed messages in terms of it's comprehensive, it's complex, it's time consuming. But the biggest message I took away from Tuan was that when you used it in a sort of an intelligent way, then you get a good result in terms of people liking the process, seeing the value in the process, and trying to get the private sector to see value in the process is always the challenge, isn't it? So yeah, I look forward to how we can promote this further. So thanks, Brice. Thanks, everybody.
Philippe,
Yeah,
just
Rene.
one small question.
No, please go ahead.
As the new inputs to the methodology go into a kind of grouping or classifying also the farmer organizations, is there a possibility to integrate it with the other methodologies or tools already within the toolbox? For example, if an organization, a farm organization, has already done a scope insight assessment, is there some things that can feed into the first steps of the Link methodology? That's something that we would like to see as a comprehensive approach from the toolbox also, I think.
Yes, definitely. I don't really have the whole scope insight content in mind, but when we looked at it last year, from what I remember, it's thanks to a scope insight assessment, you also can position a farmer organization on this scale of different level of development, and then use it as an assessment that allow you to start Link. I mean, the tools are different. The scope and our quick assessment farmer organization are different, but they can be used either one or the other. It's not an issue. First, we would have liked to have more synergies between Link and scope insight, but it was not really possible because Link is like open source, and whoever can download it for free and use it for free, while the business model of scope insight is not the same. So we finally went for something different in order for us to be able to put the tool online and open source. But yeah, to answer your question in short, if a farmer organization already did an assessment, they don't need to redo it with the new tool that is in Link. The main objective of this tool is really to assess whether or not the organization is developed enough to be involved, to be engaged in Link. Is that clear?
Yes, that's completely clear. That answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rene, for this question. Very, very useful. There was one comment in the chat from Harrison that's saying that Link is indeed a great approach to bring smallholder farmers to the market, but we need to identify resources so that we increase the number of trainers who appreciate it and also capable of applying it. This quite very much aligns with one of the key messages that I took from your presentation, which is that Link is not so much financial resources intensive, but time intensive. So linked to that, and like with also Harrison's wish to see it being used more broadly, I'd like to ask you, what exactly are the characteristics of the trainers that if we want to apply Link, if we are an organization with staff that we believe have the background for inclusive business development, what exactly would be our investment in terms of cost and time to train our staff and actually start implementing Link?
Question is for me, right?
Yeah, sorry, not for Harrison, no. Just building on what Harrison wrote.
Yeah. So the first part of the question is about the profile of the facilitators. I'm not sure I have all the proper human resources vocabulary to answer the question, but it's a lot of soft skills, the ability to talk with different type of actors, the ability to adapt your narrative to the different type of actors you talk to, the ability to appropriate some technical concept, technical words, and to either simplify it or tweak it to according to who you talk to. There is also some skills that are very important, is the ability to make an initiative emerge and to build to contribute to help building trust within participants, to create this some kind of team spirit between value chain actors, so that people trust each other and want to work with each other. I mean, this is something that you build by experience, right? This is not really something you learn at school. So I think valuable or skilled facilitators are not so easy to spot, because it's not really something you can easily spot on a CV, but rather when you see someone in action. Like I know in this room we have one very good facilitator that I saw in action, is Tuan, although now he got higher level responsibilities, so I'm not sure he has a lot of time to facilitate, but I was very impressed the first time we were in the same room for a Link workshop. And so I think it's really, yeah, it's actually a very important question, and perhaps something we would need to formalize, and like how to define a good facilitator. That could be something very nice to add in the methodology. Actually, I'm writing it down. And then the second question was about cost, time. This is for the cost. I would say like implementing Link from A to Z in Vietnam, and let's say with 2 cycles of piloting, 2 cycles of prototype, it's probably about $15,000. But then it varies a lot according to where is the farmer organization based, how many people in the farmer organization, how many facilitators you want to involve. But yeah, I think between 10 and 20,000 you have a decent budget to start using Link with one farmer organization. In terms of timing, this really, it depends on many factors. It depends on the crop you are working with, depend on the type of pilots you want to implement. Some pilot can be implemented in 2 months, and you can see the result after 2 months. Some will take one full crop cycle, and if it's perennial crop like coffee, let's imagine if your prototype is your pilot is about providing higher quality inputs your farmer organization through service delivery by the traders. It will take at least one year to almost 1 year to see the result, right? To see if people use the fertilizer, if the fertilizer were effective, if it allows the farmers to have an improved cost benefit, to see if also having higher, better quality inputs allows them to access different markets with premium prices. So the timing is still tricky to have just a unique answer. And then I think you asked also about the time that you need to train people. And this I don't think I can answer. It really depends on the resources available, the availability of people, how easy it is to find a trainer. But this is, yeah, I think the people who run NGOs, and I think they know that, right? But yeah, I think it's still important to insist on the need to better train staff and to keep them as much as possible when they are good, because whatever the tool you use, if you have good facilitators, it will be always easier. And I see some comments. Yeah, profile of facilitator. Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
thank you, Brice.
We will,
Yeah, no,
we will definitely add this.
sorry.
No, sorry, I was reading at the comment from Mark saying that we should have a profile of a facilitator. I think that's a very good point. We will add that
Yeah,
in the
good.
method.
And also Harrison just suggested that the Business Development Service Associations and AMEA local networks are establishing can be very good platforms to identify and train master trainers to build capacity of facilitators. So probably CIAT could break down how much it costs for that purpose. So the local network facilitators and the regional coordinators that help the local networks could also facilitate those connections where it's possible. So I think we're coming to the end of the webinar. I don't know if there's any final remarks or comments anyone wants to do. If not, I would like to thank CIAT and Ricotta for the presentation. It was very interesting, very good to see developments and feedback being taken in consideration as well. And looking forward for the future developments as well, and probable potential partnerships that can arise from CIAT, Ricotta, and AMEA network, so we can scale up and use more the link methodology. So thank you, everyone. And thank you. This is the final webinar of the Toolbox Webinar Series. So thank you for everyone who made it until now. And we'll be in touch for sure.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.